we have an awesome show for you today to kind of follow up on what we talked about last week with the digital nomad experts from beach commutes. And this is some new, really interesting research that just came out from Microsoft about people working from home and how they might have an infinite workday, that people are actually working more hours now that they work from home. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nomads No Worries. My name is Steve. This is my legendary co-host, Jack.
Good morning, Steve. How are you today?
I'm good, man. I had a bit of a nomad nightmare yesterday, which is why we didn't end up recording yesterday. It's something that when people ask me, what do you miss about living in the US? Or like, what are some of the big differences, between like the US and the countries you go to? Like, I don't always remember or have an answer. But something that happens a lot in other countries that never happens in the US is power outages, right? Yesterday, they're just like, okay, the power is out in basically the entire city of Santa Marta, Colombia. I'm just like, sick. Okay. So I had to go to a co-working space. It was super crowded, not a very good podcast environment. But yeah, I had to go there for the full day. But yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, honestly, in a lot of even like developed countries that I've been to, Italy, it's happened to me in Canada, like in Vancouver, even, which is crazy. But like if that shit happened in the US, people would lose their minds. Like
Yeah.
it only happens if there's like a really bad, serious storm or something, but like it doesn't just randomly happen on a Thursday for no reason.
Yeah. Like it reminds me of like when Texas had like 2 inches of snow and people freaked out. Like that's the worst natural disaster. And it's, are we just that spoiled? Like I never ever been like, okay, like, I've never questioned the electricity. I've never been like,
Exactly.
it's not going to not work.
Yeah, we totally take it for granted. And that's what I'm saying. It's just like, I don't know. It's like garbage disposals is another thing that is only in the US, right? But yeah, now not losing power, like that is just something I don't even think about it. I don't even realize it's possible to be a problem in America. But then in other countries, it happens all the time. Like not that often, but yeah, I'm not surprised when it does happen. And then I have to quickly figure out some type of solution.
It's absolutely wild to me. It reminds me of like how also in some countries where you got to bring the water into the apartment, like the drinking water. And like we never taught, like I've been a tap water guy my whole life, like
Yep.
tap water, and I'm on the grid, like it's crazy.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
what are these countries doing?
Yeah, every time I go to the grocery store here, actually in some parts of Colombia, the tap water is okay to drink, like in Medellin and
Oh,
Bogota. But here they're saying like don't drink the water in Santa Marta. So yeah, every time I go to the grocery store, like I have to get giant multi-gallon jugs of water to bring home, which makes going to the
right.
grocery store really shitty because like I carry super heavy water jugs home. They only last me like 1 to 2 days, like a 5 gallon thing. But yeah.
Wow, that's kind of impressive, actually. I mean, you get good water intake. And that's why, but also it creates those jobs of the guys who bring it up for you. Because without those guys, I'd be shriveled up. I'd be like, I'm not carrying this thing. Like, I need the guy to deliver it to me. And you put the money outside.
Well, those are nice services. That's not always I feel like it's not always a thing. Like here we
Yeah.
don't have that service, but that is super nice when that's a service. Yeah, I will pay any amount of money to have them deliver it to me.
Maybe that's what GoPuff needs to do to kind of make it in these other countries. You GoPuff water, like that could be good for them.
That's genius, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, so Steve, what now in the co-working place, is it all nomads in this co-working place? Like in are all the locals just dealing with it, and all the nomads are like freaking out in the co-working with the generator, or like.
There were a lot of locals, it seemed like, in there
Oh,
because like the locals lost power also. So it was just packed in there with locals and nomads alike. But it made me think too. I'm like, if the whole city, there were only like certain small parts of the city that had power. So I had to go to that section of the city that was, a 15-minute drive. But I'm
Oh,
like, how does a whole, but like the like down the main part of downtown did not have power for the whole day because they were like working on something or whatever. But I'm just like, how does a whole city not have power for a whole day? Like there's
yeah.
businesses downtown that like need internet. Like you can't have internet without electricity. You can't have Wi-Fi. You need computers to charge and stuff. Like
Yeah.
they just really lose a whole day of like economic income because of it. Like that's wild. Again,
See,
America would never. They're like, if we lose money for like a single hour, like we're gonna fucking kill somebody. Like that just does not happen.
imagine the outcry on TikTok if we have like a blip, if my internet drops below, 1 gigabit per second for like 5 seconds, I'm like, okay, I'm calling my ISP. Like we are getting someone on the phone here who is getting fired for this. Yeah.
Exactly. But here everyone's just like, oh, no, that's just another day in Latin America or whatever. So
Hey, you know what? Like sometimes ignorance is bliss. Like maybe they just like, they're like, all right, this is just how it goes,
yeah.
Like
No, they don't know any different. They don't realize that in the US we can flush toilet paper down the toilet without like flooding the whole sewage system. We don't in the US we don't have to put toilet paper in the trash can, which is so disgusting. Like I
so
hate doing
gross.
that.
It is my
Yeah.
least favorite thing to do. Like, and I'm sure, when you have people visit you, you have to kind of like let them know, hey, you have to do that. Otherwise, like someone's gonna have to come. Like,
Dude,
you
Daniel
know?
came. Daniel came the other
Oh,
day. I didn't tell him. I was just like, honestly, because dude, the first couple wipes, I'll be honest, I put it in the toilet. Like, I'm not having the worst wipes go in my trash can. All right. No one
right,
needs that. It's going in the toilet. I don't care what they say. And the
right.
toilet's been fine the whole time. So I just didn't tell Daniel. He was just here for like a day or two. So I was like, you know what? Just we'll risk it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
it reminds me too. It's like when I kind of have the big morning sesh after the coffee, I kind of you got to be on it with the flushing. You can't just have your time like you do here. You're doing the crossword. You got to be a little bit more on top of when you're, flushing.
Yeah, strategic flushing. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've come to realize that too. So
There's literally what we're talking about is downstream effects here.
that's
So,
right. No, that's good. I'm glad we're learning these things. We can apply this to the business world, personal
yeah,
relationships.
right.
You know,
It makes us tougher. Like
yeah,
it's like, okay, like I have to deal with a little bit of adversity today. I'm gonna have to use my mobile data to get on Instagram.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, next time my boss asks me to do a task that seems intimidating or time consuming, I'm gonna be like, you know what though? Like I put some toilet paper wipes in a trash can and they sat there in my bathroom for multiple days just baking. So life could be worse.
Marinating.
I can tackle this task.
Yeah. And
So
you know what's hilarious about this whole thing is that like when the toilet does get clogged in the US, like imagine if they were in a different country, they would have destroyed the entire sewage system of like their entire apartment complex.
yeah,
If you're taking down a US toilet, you that is some heavy artillery.
so true. It's impressive. Yeah, here if you break a
Yeah.
toilet, it's like you're just an asshole and it's not that impressive. But in the US, yeah, you're right. You're doing work. You're putting in a lot of work to break a
Yeah.
US toilet.
Maybe that's another issue with our diet, and maybe that's also why we have such strong sewage, is because we just got all this GMO, we got all this cornstarch, you got your like triple pump pistachio cold brew, and you are just letting it fucking just come out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like that's probably why we have such a great, robust system. And like over there,
Yeah.
they're eating healthy, they're eating plantains and rice and beans, and it just doesn't hit the same.
True. Our culture is really built for just hard shits, just
Yeah.
strong shitting.
Right, right. Really, it's a load test. We that's what we say in software engineering.
That sounds gross. When you
Yeah.
apply it
Okay.
to
Well.
poop. Yeah.
All right. Well, we covered.
All
That was
right.
good. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's move on here. So now let's talk about the Infinite Workday, Jack.
All right. All right.
How scary does that sound, dude?
The only way I'm doing that is if I'm a severed worker. Let me tell you.
Yeah, you're obsessed with severance,
Okay. Yeah.
which
But that does
that
sound
kind of is.
terrible.
That kind of is like an infinite workday. But here's what it
Yeah. It
is.
is.
So Microsoft, which is a crazy thing to name a company when you really think about it, Microsoft.
Right. Lil Wayne has a line related to something like that.
So they just released some data that shows that workers are finding it harder to disconnect these days. All right. Back in the day, people would go to an office and it was a very clear, this is when the day starts, this is when the day ends. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're working from home, like us, you can get caught in what is they're calling an infinite workday. I guess Microsoft just made this observation. They looked through trillions of data points across Microsoft 365 products, which a lot of us use for work.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll break it down by day. Okay. Early mornings, 40% of people who are online at 6 a.m. are checking work emails. Okay. So if you're online at 6 a.m., you're already looking at work emails, which means you're already working.
Wow.
And then Teams becomes the primary communication platform within the Microsoft environment by 8 a.m.,
Mm.
with workers receiving an average of 153 messages per workday.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
6 a.m. It's crazy because we used to say 9 to 5, like our parents were like, oh, I work a 9 to 5 job. And people still say that, but really it's more like 8 to 5 these days.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, 40% of people are checking work emails at 6 a.m. Kind of sad.
It's like it's end of the era. When you were a kid, I'm sure you had this experience. Like I'd be like done with school. I'm waiting for my parents to come home. My dad comes home, undoes the tie. He wore a suit to work and he's disconnected at that point. He's done. But that's not how it's going to be for us.
Now, on to midday.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Microsoft said that half of meetings take place between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. and then 1 to 3 p.m., which is apparently when people are most productive due to circadian rhythms. And then 57% of meetings occur without a calendar invite. And then 1 in 10 meetings are booked last minute. So that's interesting.
I will say I hate that. The stats you just presented, these are my most hated stats. Dude, 9 to 11 is the only time during the day I'm going to be productive. Like, if you schedule a meeting, then you wasted my entire day. Like, that is my golden hour. That is when
Yeah.
I am, like, sharp. I've had my coffee. I've taken care of the business. I've put the toilet paper in the trash can. Like, this is the only time that, like, I am going to be, like, Superman. And you are robbing me of that with a meeting that could have been an email.
You know what's hilarious about you saying that is it's 9:43 for me right now and it's 10:43 for you right now. So we are wasting our productive time right now on this podcast, baby.
Well, I'd rather do our productive time with the pod with you than, some boring work stuff anyway. So this is a great this is a great meeting. This is a great meeting.
This is, and it wasn't super last minute booked.
And like honestly, this couldn't have been an email. So we had to have this meeting.
If our podcast was an email, it would not be as interesting. That's for damn sure.
That would suck. Yeah. So.
All right, now it says meetings after 8 p.m. are up 16% over last year. And the average employee sends or receives more than 50 emails outside of regular business hours. Some people go to sleep at 8 p.m. We got 16% higher people working at night now.
Dude, yeah, see, that is ridiculous. But Steve, this is really interesting that you bring this stuff up because I thought there was this like resurgence of like everyone wants you to come back to the office, but like does Microsoft, they aren't they pretty happy about this?
Yeah.
Like as an employer,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
And I
going
don't think
back to
this
the
is
office,
their
you're not going to get
employees
that.
necessarily. I think this is just research of like anyone who's using Microsoft products, not necessarily
Oh.
Microsoft employees.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
But
okay.
but
Okay.
this is like, when we talked to Jeff last week and he's talking about the benefits of remote work over going back to office, like companies should look at this stat and be like, okay, wow, people are working from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they should work from home.
Please
This
don't
is
come in. Yeah.
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 Um, and then final stat here, dude. On weekends, 20% of employees check work email before noon. I don't
Wow.
even know why they put the before noon thing in there. Like, I don't check my work email on the weekend at all, personally. But 20% of employees check it before noon on a fucking Saturday, dude.
The only thing we're doing before noon on a Saturday is walking to brunch, Steve.
That's right, dude. Like, the only thing
Yeah.
I'm checking is my mimosa finished and can I have another one at that time? I'm not checking my Outlook or Gmail.
Yeah, I'm exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Man, now you're kind of making me want a brunch. I'm glad it's Friday, It's good.
TGIF, dude. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, RIP to
um,
these remote. Now, see, let me ask you this. Okay. Teams, in my opinion, is a very corporate chat application. Like in my experience, startups potentially use other things like maybe like Slack or texting or Telegram. But if you're on Teams, I mean, you are, you are in my opinion very corporate. So to see these metrics for a very corporate job, which in my opinion would be like less overtime work than a more scrappy startup-y job, is the numbers are staggering, I guess. And maybe I'm drawing the wrong conclusions there, but like
no, yeah, that makes sense. It's like if I'm gonna like bust my balls and work on the weekend or work at 10 p.m. or whatever, like maybe it's for a startup that I'm, one of the core founding
yeah,
team members, and that's something I really am passionate about, I care about.
right.
But you're right. If you're using these Microsoft products, if you're using Teams, yeah, you're probably just working for, fucking
Oracle.
Salesforce, yeah, Oracle, like some evil corporation that definitely does not care about you. So I promise you, dude, you should not care about them enough to work at 10 p.m. All right. They will lay
Yeah.
you the fuck off. They're not
Yeah.
going to go look and be like, oh, he worked on the weekends. We shouldn't lay him off. No, they're going to be like, no, you're laid off, bro. I don't give a shit that you just put in 60 hours for no overtime last week.
Yeah, and they're going to be like, sorry, we actually don't have your name down, but we know you're employee 3742 and you're no longer, that is no longer your number. You're
Yes.
employee. Yeah. like like we actually can't personally let you go. You need to join the Zoom call and we'll let you know. The Zoom call for the people from 3500 to 4000. You guys need
Yep.
to all
Yep.
get on a call.
Yep. The mass layoff Zoom call. They're like, sorry, it's too expensive to have individual meetings with everyone. So
It's too much bandwidth. We're worried about the electricity going out.
yes.
So like we're going to have to kind of batch these up together,
So
okay?
yeah.
But
So
we
you
do
guys are all
appreciate your
fired.
work. Thank you so much for checking your email at 6 a.m. for the past 4 years. Here's a 2-week severance. Wait, but Jesus Christ. Man.
If you're not getting paid for those extra hours, don't do it. Sometimes there's flexible working hours. Like, in my company, like if I want to work at, until 10 p.m. one night, I can, as long as I don't work. I have to start late that day, maybe, to still make it 8 hours.
Yeah.
But just have flexible work scheduling. So maybe people are doing a little bit of that, hopefully. But yeah, don't go over 40 hours. It's like illegal.
And like, I mean, we've all been there, like we've all had that feeling where you felt like you gave a pound of flesh to a company and for whatever reason it didn't work out. Like maybe the company didn't do well and you folded, or you got a new job, or you got fired, or you got laid off, and then you think back 6 months earlier, like, damn, I really tried really hard for that, and I didn't get
for
as much
nothing.
out of it as I thought I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, dang, like, but here I am again at 6 a.m. I'm getting started.
All right, here's the most staggering stat from the report here, Jack. Employees using Microsoft 365 are interrupted by a meeting, an email, or a notification on average every 2 minutes during core business hours. And that could be anyone. This isn't necessarily just remote workers, it could be office workers. So, that doesn't even include other interruptions like a coworker coming by your desk to bullshit with you, which I had a big
Hmm.
problem with when I
You
worked in
did.
an office. I had to put up the signs that told people not to talk to me.
We're gonna put that content on the pod, right? We're gonna get a pic of that for this clip. Yeah.
I know the company still uses it in their training when they're training new employees about like productivity. They're like, here's what this guy did. He put up these stop signs and it did help me a lot.
Yeah, that is, yeah, Steve, and it kind of backfired. A lot of people say, it's who you know, and it's about how you make people feel, and that's how you move up. But Steve's problem is he makes people feel so good and happy all the time they want to hang out with him constantly, and it backfires. Like, imagine
Yeah.
that. That's what being too good at your job looks like.
Yeah, dude, every 2 minutes. So I don't even know how people get anything done at all if every 2 minutes you're getting some kind of a notification. And that's not
Wow.
even counting TikTok and Instagram notifications, because we're getting
The
plenty of
important
those.
ones.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
important ones. And, I respond to those quicker than I respond to my coworkers' messages a lot of times. So,
And that's one reason why you never add your coworkers on social media, because you always want to be active on social media and you want to be ghosting on Teams.
exactly. Yeah, figure out where your priorities lie, where to ghost, and where to be responsive. All right. We
Yeah,
already know. So we're good.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But that's good. Speaking of social media, don't forget to follow us, guys, at Nomads No Worries Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And please, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, or leave us a review, leave us a rating, give us 5 stars. We'd really love to see that feedback.
Absolutely. We would love to hear what you have to say. And also, if you do have any just, thoughts about stuff we should talk about or anything like that, you'd love to hear our take on it, submit that as well.
We do love thoughts. And we've
Oh,
done
yeah.
that. We've done that a few times, gotten listener feedback and talked about it on the pod. Yeah, this is a community, right? It's not just Jack and I here. It's
Mm-mm.
me, Jack, and the greater Nomad community. Whoever's listening out there, we love you guys. We want you to be part of this. So let's go.
Hashtag one bag. We know you're out there.
All right. Well, that's probably good for this episode.
Okay.
Let's call it a day on this episode. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Do you still say take a weird trip or not anymore?
Take a weird trip.